you're probably not going to get 100% buy-in every time.
Sure.
But what you want to do is have an event or a meeting or something that someone's seeing value in. Again, you have to do a little more planning and stuff. It's more agendas and more driving conversation and making sure that everyone's coming prepared.
Yeah.
Because I think if you have meetings just to have meetings without an agenda, without any preparation, the output is going to be much less desirable. And in turn, I think that just spitballs.
Welcome to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast, where our mission is to share business ideas, practices, and strategies while we enjoy our cup of coffee. Today's guest is Brett Gray. We're going to be talking about that in just a few moments. But before we get to it, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. We have a brand new episode every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., and we don't want you to miss a single one of those. So head on over to Loc-Doc.net/podcast. You can subscribe there, and you can also follow us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. We've got a video version as well, and you don't want to miss that. Check it out. We're actually starting into our 4th year of podcasting. We've got a ton of episodes for you, all about business ideas, practices, and strategies, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Brett Gray is the managing principal for Cushman Wakefield for the Carolinas. And man, I've known Brett for a long, long time, but we have never had an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation quite like this. So I appreciate him coming and joining us today and chatting about leadership as a whole, about navigating an organization, building a culture and a team environment, and then also understanding what the future of the economy and commercial real estate looks like, even for our area, but I think it's applicable to yours as well. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a notebook and a pen, and get ready for this conversation with Brett Gray.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
All right, Brett, thanks for being here today.
Happy to. Thanks for inviting me.
It's been a while.
It has. Watching the growth of Loc-Doc, it's been just incredible, and seeing, from the first time we met to now, a lot of things have changed.
Yeah, we were chatting about it before we got started. Watching your career has been cool as well, obviously from a distance. But the first time I remember meeting you was in a not so nice area in Charlotte, and I was a technician helping you get some keys to a building, and you were kind of getting started in your real estate career, and so it's kind of cool to be able to sit at this table a few years later.
No, it is. It's funny. I still talk to that owner from those days as well, and keep in touch with them. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah. So you've been in the commercial real estate business for what, 15, 16 years?
It's 16 years.
Yeah.
Now. So it feels a lot longer than when I talk about it that way than it does probably thinking about it through the memories.
We're going to jump into rapid fire here in just a second, but a few years ago, and I don't remember what year it was now, but a few years ago, I had opportunity to drop some stuff off at your office up on the 40th floor. Of the Duke Energy?
Duke Energy. We actually moved 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
it was at least well before that.
It was.
But the office, the conference room, overlooked Bank of America Stadium.
It was. It was the cheap tickets, if you will, for those of us who couldn't get in.
Hey, well, I would say that I would much prefer sitting in that conference room watching the game than being down in the stadium. But anyway, cool. Let's jump into rapid fire. 5 randomly selected questions just to get under your skin with an unknown point value. Ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What's your most recent passion? What's got you going lately?
I've taken on, I finally figured out during COVID that if I didn't learn how to play golf, there was not an excuse for me ever again in this lifetime. And admittedly, it was a way to get outside and, kind of work from home. I worked from home for a few months before heading back to the office, but did it. It's not a sport that I would advise anyone my age to start, but it can be frustrating. But I just really enjoy being out there and trying it, and got all new clubs and did all the works. It has not helped my swing, but I enjoy the camaraderie nonetheless. Hey,
I've always said with golf, as long as you look like you know what you're doing, it's fun. But have the nice clubs and the nice hat and matching clothes, right?
Yeah, the 19th hole is where I excel.
Oh man, golf is the game that you have to practice practice. It takes a lot of reps, right? And it's a big mental game.
It is, and admittedly, I'm not someone who gets out enough.
Yep.
So going out there and play once a month, or if I'm lucky, probably is not quite enough. But it is a mental game. I mean, it's kind of reminds you of probably being a cornerback in the NFL. You got to have a short memory, to kind of go back up and erase what just happened, to kind of step back up and try to grind it out again.
Yeah, it's been a while. We had a guest on the podcast that was a former professional golfer, and we were talking about the mental stamina that it takes to play, especially at that level, because you've got all eyes on you. You got to be focused, and then we were translating it over to business, and there's a lot of correlation there, which I think is where the draw comes from. So cool. All right, question number 2: what thing have you been procrastinating about that you're going to get going on today? What's something you've been recently procrastinating on? Well,
it's probably my workout regime. It's something that probably was good up until a certain point during COVID, and admittedly trying to get back into that. But it did bring some bright spots with family and other things that I'll certainly cherish.
Sure.
But I need to get back on my morning workouts.
There you go. All right, question number 3: what would your dream day look like?
Dream day would probably be somewhere on a boat in the islands, with crystal blue water and, just kind of enjoying out in the sun with friends and family.
Okay, what kind of boat? Like a sailboat?
I guess if we're dream day, it's a yacht now.
Yeah. Well, I can dig with that, right? I spend probably more time than I would like to admit watching videos on YouTube about sailboats and doing that very thing, right? Sailing in the islands with the clear blue water, and it's just like, man, I like the idea of it, but it also looks like a lot of work. So I think the yacht thing would probably be better.
Yeah, the yacht, if I must, a catamaran would suit me just fine too. So, again, I'm flexible here.
If I had to deal with it, we'll go with that. All right, now question number 4. What does it mean to live a good life, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's honestly to have something at home, have a family, a wife, a child in my instance. This has been really gratifying and has really just, again, you don't realize how much you can love someone between those two. And then really having something to ground me, in my life, in my business life, work. I enjoy going to work.
Yep.
It's something I enjoy thinking about when I get home. But I think it's kind of having that full platter. Again, something to do, a hobby, friends, family, and a job, and hopefully, making an income that supports that.
Sure. Very cool. All right, last question. Question number 5. What bad decision did you make that actually turned out to be a good decision?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, I think I had a number of jobs over the years and offers that could have taken me in a different career path, and really kind of sticking it out. Sometimes I even turned down, job promotions and things like that that would require a relocation internally with our firm. Ultimately, wanting to be in this kind of role I'm in now, and so I think that really turned out well. Staying here in Charlotte, not moving to DC or somewhere like that. I think just kind of being here. I don't think any of us. I'm a native of Charlotte, and it was the last place I wanted to come back to after college, and now being here and seeing what's going on. I mean, it's just an incredible place.
Yeah. I think that's a good end to rapid fire right there. I like that. And we'll give you a score of 916. So congratulations.
Perfect. Thank you.
So let's jump into the conversation as a good transition point. So a bad decision that actually turned out to be a good decision is the staying power, the turning down other offers, but sticking with what you were ultimately working towards. From that perspective, and I've got it listed here, you were on the 2020 list of Charlotte Business Journal's most admired CEOs, which is a pretty good recognition, right?
Thank you.
That's pretty cool. Had you made those other decisions, you wouldn't be obviously most likely not be in the position that you are right now. Why do you, what do you think has put you there? Like, you can read the article and it talks about how you've got a lot of respect in your industry from your peers and from the people that you work with. What do you attribute that to? What do you attribute working towards something like that? That's a great recognition.
Well, I mean, I think like anything, you got to have good people around you. It's not certainly something that you can earn on your own. I have great leaders around me. I have great people around me. And again, I think it's probably like being a coach. You probably get too much criticism when you're losing and too much glory when you're winning. So, I think it's, remaining humble and, approaching every day. I mean, someone is gunning for you at all times, right? They're gunning for you, for your market share in the industry, for your people, trying to disrupt your culture. So I just think it's absolutely critical to kind of come focus on each day. Again, I don't really focus very much on the past. It's kind of what can I control in the future, and really kind of approach it every day that way.
Well, so good leaders looking for the vision of the future, less worrying about checking in the rearview mirror. I mean, you can see those missteps along the way, but plotting out where we're headed and how we're going to get there. So as we were chatting before we started recording, just kind of getting an understanding more of what your day-to-day role looks like. You're inside of a global organization, but you're running your own business, right, inside of that for the Carolinas. What are some of the things, as you've navigated that path, what are some of the things that you're like, man, here is a great leadership tip that I got from somebody else? Because obviously to be in that position, you've had mentors and you've gone through a lot. You just mentioned a couple of major talking points: culture, right? Market share, and your team, right? Those are three big factors that every leader is dealing with, regardless of the industry that you're in. What are the things that you have learned that you're saying, hey, these are some really good principles that I've been taught that now I'm trying to teach my team?
Well, certainly it's respect. I mean, to others, treat them the way you want to be treated. Again, kind of the golden rule that we all always try to follow, and probably our parents taught us. But I think for us, it's lifting people up around you. It's helping people. Again, it's we've all got to bring our energy every day, but admittedly, it's tough to bring it 365 days a year for your entire life. And so I think we have to be very aware when people are down, be a helping hand to kind of lift them up, because one person's down, I mean, it can kind of take down the whole bunch. So again, I think it's energy levels. And, I don't think anyone is really taught leadership. I think it's, there's a lot of books on it. So in that space I've had a lot of great leaders around me. That's been a source of, probably my approach. It's a combination of great leaders around me. And candidly, it's a combination of failures, whether it's my own or others' own, where you look back and it's like, ooh, I wouldn't have done that. But it leaves a big imprint. I mean, I think we all look probably, it's easy to kind of focus on your failures and always kind of be, looking at how you can be better on that approach.
Well, it's like the golf game, right? What we were just talking about. If you focus on the last bad shot that you had, if you can't, you can address what you did wrong on it, but if you can't apply that in correction for the next, then you're just going to be stuck on those bad shots, and you're not going to be able to get past it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I tell everyone, whether you want to be a leader or not, people are watching you, right? And they're watching, for how they should be reacting. Should they be worried? If you're worried, whoa, what's going on? Are we getting bought? Am I losing a position, right? I mean, the human mind can go a bunch of different directions just off, unspoken words, body behavior and things like that, body language. So, again, I think it's always projecting that strength and that confidence and being able to put out things that are bad, right, that happen. They're not ideal because people are watching. And so, again, I go back to the cornerback. After they get burned by the wide receiver, you got to line back up and you got to show that strength and you got to forget what just happened.
Yeah. So on that note, you've gone through several different acquisitions and transitions and roll-ups, and we were talking with some of the acquisitions that had you guys as an organization went through 3 different name changes very quickly based off of that. Through that process, the level of confidence, the level of what you're communicating as a leader to the rest of your organization obviously has a big impact, because when people start seeing those, there's either, what's going to happen in a negative, or is this a good opportunity for me and for this organization? What of that, through that process, did you say, hey man, this is really important, we've got to make sure this information is out in front of our team so that they're not stressed, they're not worried?
Well, I think communication is key. There's no doubt about it. No one likes surprises. No one likes change either. And in those instances, change really turned out to be better for everyone. There was some tough, trying times through there. I'd be lying if I told you otherwise.
Sure.
And there were some frustrating times. But what a learning experience it was of not only being a part of kind of a big integration of companies, and then subsequently going part of an IPO, going public. So, again, I think we've tried throughout it is to really celebrate the good things that are happening and really message that, and try to kind of take the light off some of the changes, some of the frustrations are coming, because it, again, if you kind of focus on that, it can eat an organization just, one bite at a time.
We understand the frustrations HOA board members and property managers face when deciding the best solution for their HOA and pool security. Should we use a keypad, hand out keys, or install a key card system? Do we even need cameras? These are some of the questions that are difficult to navigate, and we're here to help. At Loc-Doc Security, we've spent over 20 years working with homeowners associations and property managers to find the system that best fits the pool and HOA needs. Camera systems for the front gate or front entrance, key card systems for the pool gates, or simply updating the gate so that it meets safety and code compliance. We like to take the guesswork out of the process to answer any questions and help find the right solution. Our mission is to help you protect your people and your property, and that includes pools. Contact our team today to schedule your free consultation for your community. So I want to circle back to communication, and especially I want to talk on it. I want to touch on it very lightly, but just in a perspective of seeing a hiccup coming down the pipeline with the pandemic, and then understanding how you communicate it. I don't want to dwell on that a lot, because some of it's in the past, but I think there's some valuable lessons to be learned from it, and I want to circle back to that. But before we get to that, from a communication side of things, practically speaking, in your role, you obviously are meeting with your team on a regular basis, team meetings, group meetings, maybe one-on-ones. What does that rhythm look like for you? Because that's something I think I'm trying to take some practical application out of it, even for our business and maybe those that are listening or watching. When you're leading a team, what is the rhythm of communication that you've seen success with? Is that weekly one-on-ones? Is that monthly all-team meetings? Like, what does a communication rhythm look like?
So for us, we do all hands meetings across the company. We've had speakers come in. Some of them have been informational. Some of them have been teaching leadership lessons. We had Matt Doherty, the former UNC basketball coach, come in earlier this year for us. And some of that was just really uplifting, especially coming out of the pandemic. So we have that. That's a quarterly meeting. We've got sub-team meetings that happen routinely. Some are once a week. Some are once a month. And then certainly there's the collisions that just happen in the office, and that's what you can't replace. And what we couldn't replace during the pandemic was just those natural collisions. I think people get worn down by too many meetings, but just being there and having those casual conversations, amazing what you can learn, what you can pick up, even if you're not even having a conversation with someone, what you can overhear. It's real, and it's something, I think we all realize through the pandemic we can't replace it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I want to unpack that a little bit, because I haven't heard you hear water cooler talking all that stuff. I like the term collisions. So the accidental conversations that happen that ultimately result in something big, right? Because just not planned, not the formalized meeting we're coming together. It's just, hey, I have this idea. What are your thoughts? the bouncing ideas off of each other, or just like you said, overhearing something and then bringing value to the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing we've seen is in our company, there's just an enormous amount of information that is coming. Again, I would equate it to being an internist that all of a sudden, is doing orthopedic knee surgeries just because he overheard that conversation in the background. Sure. And so we feel the same way. I mean, you might be focused on office product, but all of a sudden you know about construction, you know about industrial product, you might know about investment sales, things that you don't focus on that just happen. And I think, it helps you kind of tie the pieces together a little bit and what's going on in Charlotte and in the broader region. But I think it's just so critical. People who've joined our organization that didn't have that, that full service kind of look, or like, I know more about the market today than I ever have just by sitting in this seat for 1 week, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are kind of the critical things. Again, you bump to someone in the kitchen, they're talking about something, you're having lunch, you're talking across cubes or workstations, and you hear someone else, you hear someone on the phone about how they're approaching a conversation with the CFO, right? I think all these experiences develop you into kind of your style and who you are today. Again, I talked about great leaders that came before me that I learned from. Areas, there's things that people are great. Everyone has a fastball, you like to hope, but not every pitch everyone has is the greatest curveball, the greatest split, changeup, et cetera.
I've talked about it a lot, or at least rambled on about it a lot over the past about your environment and the people that you're around. You are impacted, you're influenced by your environment regardless. A lot of people like to put the tag of positive or negative influence. I just say you're influenced. It's just the way that it is. In the office environment, in a corporation or an organization as a whole, you are being influenced by that group of people. Isolating that, individualizing that, the kind of work from home, I could see that to be even more so detrimental because you are now, you kind of lose that, environmental influence regardless, just because, like you said, it's a formalized meeting. Let's all get on a Zoom. And now it's very tactical because everybody just wants to get the work done and you're on video and let's move on, but you lose that kind of natural understanding of what's going on inside of the organization. I would also be interested in your thoughts on that as well, just from an overall market experience or an overall market understanding. Obviously, in-person events, in-person meetings with vendors or potential clients and all that stuff became very isolated as well. And I would imagine that probably impacted a lot of things because I'm just processing. I think you brought up a very valid point of the collision thing, because how many big opportunities came about because of a collision at a restaurant when you ran into the guy that you used to work with 5 years ago, or the networking event or whatever the case, the industry event, and you're like, oh yeah, hey, have you heard about A, B, or C? That right now your only means of doing that is reading whatever the latest news article is. Yeah,
it really is. I mean, I think that culture that we built through being in the office, through having the social contacts, the group meetings, just the day-to-day working, laughs and stuff that you have. Again, my view is our culture, which was great, and a little bit I say was, which is something I'm very focused on, carried us through the pandemic.
Yeah,
right. Everyone who knew everyone already, they knew who to call. If you were a new hire, it was terrible, right? Yeah. You're lost. You hadn't made those relationships, et cetera, and you had to be a little more deliberate. Again, we increased our meetings double time, but admittedly, it's not the same. Yeah. And so now, for me today, right, we're back in the office. I've been back in the office since June of 20 because I just. I want to be there. I want to hear it. I'm smarter being around everyone else. I'm a better leader being around everyone else. And it's a great way to kind of have a pulse in your people, right? You don't have the body language that you had when everyone's working from home, and then we got sick of putting the camera on, and it was audio, and it just turned into kind of going through the motion. So right now it's we're rebuilding our culture, right? I think we used up about all the culture we had during these past year and a half, and it's unfortunate, but it just goes back to show you just how critical it is. We're being tested again right now, really as a country and really across the globe. So it's going to be something we're going to be very deliberate about, but it's real.
You're bringing up a lot of valid information, a lot of valid points, and contextualizing it, I think, in a way that I haven't heard from a lot of other people. I think a lot of folks are talking about, hey, we need to be back in the office, or it's hard to replace that in-person environment. You're putting some interesting terminology around it that I think it's got a lot more legs. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Business as a whole, it's super smart. Reduce the size of your physical footprint. Get everybody remote. Like, cost of doing business is reduced. Short term, I think that's great, right? What is the long-term impact of that from the actual getting work done, from the actual culture effect? And so you just said, I think we used up all of our culture. You basically looking at it as building a savings account, and over the course of the pandemic, you start to deplete those funds. Now you have to start focusing on putting that back into place. You said you were very focused on that. What does that mean practically speaking? How are you actively working to be mindful of your culture or to impact it?
Well, I think a good economy, a growing economy helps everything, right? Sure. Just like winning in sports. But it's being more deliberate, right? So, Tuesday night, invited our team out for dinner and stuff. And it's about not just having fun in the office, which, we've got to do, but it's about having events that drive that culture again. We always work on a fun kind of oriented event every year that we do. So that'll be one that we really plan and really try to focus on that piece. But it's also, again, going back to the speaker, at a time where we're deep in the pandemic, right? It was tough. People were struggling. And it's tough to kind of want to go make jokes about it. People are just kind of like, they were drained. And so that's where I said, well, we need to go lift people up, right? And Matt Doherty just told a great story. And right, he's a guy who was very candid and very honest about failing at the University of North Carolina as a coach, as a leader, maybe as a person. He would say, and I loved his message. It was just so honest and direct and humble, and about what he learned coming out of that. And just about the discipline of it. And so I think that resonated. But right now, it's really about creating these collisions more, again, that aren't just business oriented. It's social. It's about getting out, whether you're going to a ball game, about we're going to have our great day of service. We hope in October where we get outside and come together as an organization to do good for the community. So again, we've done a lot of that. Again, it's just about finding ways that we can all connect on a common level.
So a big relationship building.
100%. I'm very big in relationships, and it's been something, candidly, we've grown as an organization. When you're small, you can kind of make it family oriented, and as it gets bigger, it gets tougher, right? Yeah. The venues get bigger, the coordination gets harder, and all of a sudden it just kind of turns into, this is too difficult. Let's just mail it in and do the easy route. So, for us, you got to be a little more calculated. Again, back to I want to be in the office 5 days a week because that allows me to connect with people on a personal level, or again about their business or just about what's going on in the market. It's helpful for me. I hope in turn it gives something back to them as well, and makes us part of something bigger. And again, that's important. If we don't have people having fun and having success, they're going to leave. And so I think it's a big part of retention.
It's very intriguing. You just said as you continue to get bigger, right? And it's trying to create experiences that impact everybody, or more, I guess, being more intentional. I know for our organization, when it was 10 of us, it was easy to say, hey, let's all go out to dinner and do something, or let's all go hang out and do this on the weekend. And as we've moved into 40 plus, hey, let's all go do this. And half of them say, yeah, that doesn't appeal to me, and half say, yeah, that's great. So finding an experience that everybody's excited about starts to become more complicated. And I guess that's what you're saying, being more calculated and being more intentional about the strategy around it.
Yeah, whether you're going to grab drinks or you're getting a group out for golf or you're, doing something else that's fun, some activity or something like that, or somebody just having a meeting. I mean, the realization is that not everyone can attend every event. What works better for some in mornings or nighttime is different than, people who may have families at night or kids to pick up. So I think you have to be calculated about your rhythm, right? When are you doing those events? Are they always on Thursday and someone has a conflict every Thursday? You got to switch those things up. Again, we've done lunches. We've pushed things done. We've done stuff out of the office, in the office. We've switched neighborhoods. We've switched. Again, it's trying to appeal to everyone. You're not going to, as the organization grows, you're probably not going to get 100% buy-in every time. Sure. But what you want to do is have an event or a meeting or something that someone's seeing value in. Again, you have to do a little more planning and stuff. It's more agendas and more driving conversation and making sure that everyone's coming prepared. Because I think if you have meetings just to have meetings without an agenda, without any preparation, the output is going to be much less desirable. And in turn, I think that just spitballs.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. From the so you mentioned having a kind of the culture, and then winning is a big part of that, good economy and all that. From a winning standpoint in your world, in your organization, how, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question for it to be broad enough that it impacts people, but setting targets, setting goals for your team, for your organization, so that they know what winning looks like. What part of what are some things that maybe so you point back and say, hey, that didn't work before, that you've learned for how to set clear targets that really engage the team to know this is what winning looks like and this is how we're going to go about it?
Well, I think we've got a number of things. I mean, some of it is we've got a wall made out of wood from Charlotte that we put people's faces on, and it's part of our core awards program. So it's really around some of the founding kind of principles of what we believe Cushman Wakefield is. Okay. So it could be culture and creativity and teamwork and excellence. And again, I think those are things that when people are doing that, they're doing that because it's the right thing to do. They're not doing that because it's someone's watching at all time. Yeah. We had one person who was going in and emptying the dishwasher every day. Her role had nothing to do with the dishwasher, but she just did it because it was the right thing to do. It was full. It needed to be emptied. We have other people who are selfless and helping people. Oh, yeah, I'll come help you move or something. Those sort of acts that happen outside of the day-to-day kind of here's your job description role, I think kind of impacts that. And so that's one we put up there. We give out in our all-hands meeting. They have their picture on the wall. Clients come back and see it. And I think it means something to them. We also have things like the knockout gloves, again, that we give that are big in a case, big gold gloves with a Cushman logo on it, and we call those the KO gloves. And that's someone who came together to win an assignment or hopefully steal an assignment from a competitor. So that's something that's highlighted in front of them. So everyone's getting this recognition. And again, what I love about some of these core awards or the KO gloves is everyone plays a role across the team. And so in our world, the brokers get certainly the most attention, the most notoriety. There's not a lack of awards for them or articles written about deals they did. And so for me, it's about having folks across all positions, whether you are a producer, whether you support a producer, whether you just work in the organization and property management, project management, and are on that side. If you're an engineer, right, those were our unsung heroes, frankly, during the pandemic. Those guys were at the office every single day when no one was showing up. So it's about those kind of awards. We had an engineer win last time, and it's given by the people to the people. So it's given by the prior award winner, gives it out to the next person. So it's not something that I'm involved with. And so I think having it come from your peers is also something that really just kind of puts a little special something on top.
How did you how did you come to that realization? I'm sitting here going, well, maybe that's just everybody should understand that, right? That identifying, obviously, that the brokers are getting a lot of attention as the rainmakers, right? And then figuring out how to really point back and say, hey, it requires an entire team. If we don't provide a well-rounded experience, then the brokers don't have anything to go out and make a deal on. Was that based off of your experience at different positions throughout your career, or is it just looking at it objectively from a different perspective and saying, hey, let's make sure that everybody's engaged, everybody's involved?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think also when you have an all hands meeting, you can't just have brokers talking about their deals, right? You've captured 10% of the audience.
Sure.
So I think it's about having meetings that resonate with everyone. Changing focuses. We might talk about some brokerage deals, but we also will talk about property management and talk about project management and other services like valuation advisory. So I think it's about just looking at your audience and trying to figure that out. There's areas where we certainly can improve there, and something it's not easy to continue to do. Some of it was probably through prior experiences.
Yeah.
Some of it was watching other organizations and then putting my own spin on it. Right. So I think it's a combination.
Can you copy this key? That's a question we get asked about 3,422 times a year. And how can you actually be sure that the person who asked that question is supposed to get a copy of that key? Well, we think you should always know who can copy your keys to your business and your home, because it could be your neighbor, an old employee, a contractor, or even worse, your mother-in-law. At Loc-Doc Security, we believe in protected key systems, so you always know who has a copy of your key. To find out more, visit locdoc.net or stop by our Charlotte location. Loc-Doc Security, helping you protect your people and your property.
I want to try to tag two things real quick as kind of a wrap up. Just to reach back out to the communication and setting vision and being able to share a plan, especially in an unknown. So I would say that maybe through some of the acquisitions and roll-ups, those were some unknowns, like exactly what's going to happen. All right, guys, we're getting ready to navigate to another system and another piece of software and all that. So that's an unknown, I'm sure. As you were seeing the kind of pandemic come about and that unknown, just like any other business leader, you didn't quite know exactly what was going to happen. I would imagine if you did, then, man, I wish I would have been talking to you then. But how did you set forth a bit of confidence or a bit of vision to say, this is the unknown, or this is what our strategy is, this is what our plan is, so that your team didn't feel like it was just a big question mark? Well,
I think, first, I'd had the benefit, if that's what you want to call it, of leading a business through the global financial crisis. And as I said, I didn't need a pandemic to continue learning,
Sure.
But certainly that's what we were given, and it was a learning experience. But I think for that, we really kind of took a different approach. I mean, I think, I talked about double time communications. We were really putting more thought leadership. I really thought our company shined during the pandemic brighter than anyone. I mean, we put out our 6-foot office concept, which was a video about the future of the workplace. So the arrows that are on the ground and all those were a big part of what we did.
Sure.
We also put out a recovery playbook. So, our mentality during that process was, whether you're, a property manager or brokerage, we need to turn into advisors. So we cut off. I mean, we just said there's no transactions. You shouldn't even be talking about transactions with clients. Right now, we need to help guide them. They're blind. They need to know, where's this going? What should I do? And so we just really took that advice and really went into advisors. So our conversations, on our calls were about the trends and what we're seeing and what we're guiding and how to better guide clients. So, I think it was keeping the conversation relevant. Again, it wasn't about deals. It was kind of executing what you had in the pipeline if you needed to. Most of those were already 75% away and we're going to close.
Yeah.
But then came kind of that lull, excuse me. And that was really about giving that information to clients.
I like that. So switching into the advisor mode, saying, hey, instead of us trying to be transactionary right now and just trying to look for the next deal, here are some things that we need to plan for the future, and let's go ahead and start being the thought leader rather than waiting on people to tell us where we're headed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That is very powerful. And then I guess lastly, just to kind of close out the conversation, in the Charlotte market, and maybe this is less applicable to some of the folks that are listening and watching, but those that are in the Charlotte market, what are some things that you're some future things that you're seeing coming down the pipeline that we all need to be prepared for? I mean, I was talking to some property management folks before, and we were talking about like watching the development along South Boulevard and watching the development now in LoSo, right? The newly formed LoSo. What is the future of the commercial kind of real estate market looking like that you would say, hey, if you were, I'm not saying give us a mass prediction of the next 5 years, but here are some trends that I'm seeing now that are leading us down this path?
Well, I think there's a lot of things happening right now. Certainly, it felt like, even 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, we were explaining, what is Charlotte to the institutional kind of investor and occupier community. They now know what it is. They come and experience it. I think they're blown away. So the city's changed rapidly. But one thing we're spending less time on is trying to convince them why Charlotte. They get that.
Yeah.
I think land is becoming more scarce, whether you're housing, whether you're industrial. That's becoming, so you're going to start seeing that urban sprawl, like in Atlanta had, but on a much smaller scale right now, certainly. And then I think, the place mapping, that what's going on with the city and the government right now is going to be very important for us as we talked about the 2040 plan, but going that into the UDO and determining kind of the future use of some of these areas. So I think a lot of these things will drive the future of the city.
Yep.
I do think light rail has been slower than we wanted. The airport is still going to be a gigantic driver for us, and that continues to be a great bright spot for us. But I think that the land is going to drive where this goes, as the city's traffic goes. I mean, I think if anyone has driven to Atlanta recently, what used to be 3 hours and 45 minutes now feels like 4.5 hours. And Charleston used to feel like 3 hours. Now it's 3 hours, in 15 minutes, 3.5. So I think that's changed, especially the industrial, the multifamily side, that we're, it's forcing, if you will, greater investment into these, more multifamily, more industrial. We can't hub and spoke out of Atlanta. This is a big population in the Carolinas, and with one-day delivery and e-commerce, certainly in the pandemic, is going to continue to provide tailwinds to those areas as we spend more time at home and ordering, items online.
Last question that I'll ask you, and I know this may be less relevant to you right now, but based off of your experience over the years, advice from a vendor perspective, vendors for property, for commercial properties. What are some things that vendors need to be mindful of as the future of commercial real estate advances? What are things that vendors need to be positioning themselves or be mindful of as we move forward?
Well, it's so important. I mean, we're a vendor as well. We're a service provider like Loc-Doc is, and so I think at the end of the day, it's there's a lot of competition, and as the city gets bigger, there's only going to be more competition. So I think it's probably very old school, but it's a relationship business, and it still matters, still makes a difference. It's not kind of showing up at the doorstep when there's an opportunity. It's kind of where were you when there wasn't an opportunity. Going back to advising clients, there was no money involved.
Yeah.
It was simply doing what's right and doing what they had as the greatest need. So I think it's continue to be advising, continue to build relationships. What are the next waves? How can we be smarter? How can we get better?
Yeah.
Again, I think if you continue doing that, that will lead, to the contracts and to the other things that make money, candidly.
Yeah, very cool. Hey, Brett, thanks again for joining us today. It was such a blast to chat with you and enjoyed the conversation immensely. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Check us out at Loc-Doc.net/podcast because we've got a brand new episode coming next Tuesday, and you don't want to miss it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't already, make sure you should share this episode. Somebody in your world will appreciate this and take a lot from the conversation. So hit the share button wherever you're listening or watching to this. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time here on the Coffee Break Podcast.